Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the 10 upcoming RPGs that I think are absolutely worth keeping on your radar. Not just the usual huge names, but a mix of ambitious AAA, deep survival RPGs and some really interesting new projects that might surprise you. Some of these lean more into open world exploration, some into systems and survival, some into story and atmosphere, but they all have something that made me stop, rewind the trailer and wishlist them. As always, this isn't meant to be a definitive ranking of the best, it's just me sharing the RPGs I'm personally excited about, so maybe you can discover a few ones too. So grab a drink, maybe open up your Steam wishlist in another tab and let's jump into the list. Let's start off with Crimson Desert, which honestly looks like it's the closest thing we're getting to a new big, gritty, fancy RPG in the vein of games like The Witcher. This is an open-world action-adventure RPG from Pearl Abyss, set on the continent of Pywell, a place that's beautiful but brutal at the same time. You play as Cliff, leader of the Grey Mains, trying to rebuild your scattered mercenary band and claw back to what you've lost after a devastating ambush. What gets me interested here is a mix of cinematic, story and just doing stuff in the world. From previews and the official site we've seen horseback combat, climbing, a grappling hook, big group battles and plenty of downtime activities like fishing and exploring strange ruins. It's coming March 2026 on PC and current-gen consoles. After a couple of delays, that honestly might be a good thing if it means more polish. For me, Crimson Desert is the game where I'm hoping the world and characters hit me as hard as the visuals. If they nail the quest design and keep the world reactive, this could be one of the big RPG time sinks of 2026. Next up is Octopath Traveler 0, the new entry in the series and a prequel to the original game. If you like classic JRPG combat and the HD 2D art style, this one is probably already on your radar. What makes this one stand out is that you are the main character this time. You create your own protagonist, appearance, voice, and even little details like your favorite dish, and then set out on a big revenge story while rebuilding your ruined hometown. The town building is a huge focus here. You restore facilities like taverns, fields, invite allies to live there, and assign them to different roles to get various bonuses. It's almost like a mix of classic Octopath combat with a light management game layered on top. According to the devs, the main story is around 100 hours, which is a lot, and about a third of the content is new compared to the mobile game it builds on. It's launching on December 4th, 2025, and I see this as a comfort for JRPG, deep turn-based combat, nice progression, and a long story you chip away at in the evenings. Moving on, we got Gothic 1 Remake, which is pretty much built on for people who miss that old, rough, truly PC RPG feeling. This is a full remake of the 2001 cult classic, developed by Alchemia Interactive and published by THQ Nordic. The idea is to stay faithful to the original, a harsh penal colony, factions that don't care about your feelings, and a world that doesn't bend over backwards to make you feel heroic. The Steam page called this a handcrafted organic open world that reacts dynamically to your actions. So you're still getting the same core fantasy being thrown into the Valley of Mines with nothing. Slowly climbing your way up, but with modern visuals, updated controls and a more approachable interface. Right now it's listed for Q1 in 2026. Personally, I hope they keep the edge that make Gothic special, the feeling that the world existed before you and doesn't really care why you're there. If they nail that while making the combat and UI less clunky, this could be the best way to finally experience a game a lot of people missed in the first time. At number 4 is Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era. I know this is technically not the RPG's turn-based strategy first, but it's leaning harder into RPG mechanics than older entries, and I think it earns a spot here. Olden Era is an official prequel to the classic Heroes series, developed by Unfrozen and published by Hooded Horse and Ubisoft. It brings back that classic formula, exploring maps, capturing towns, raising armies and taking part in turn-based battles, but it also layers in more in-depth RPG elements for your heroes than we've seen before. There are 6 factions planned, a full single-player campaign, multiplayer, and even a map editor. A free demo is already on Steam if you want to test it before the 2026 release. For me, this is the kind of game you sink into when you want slower, more thoughtful sessions. You build a hero over dozens of turns, make long-term decisions about skills and spells, and then watch those choices pay off in the big siege battles. If you grew up with Heroes 3 or 5, this one is to keep an eye on. Next up is Valor Mortis, which sits firmly on the darker side of this list. This is a first-person action RPG with Souls-like combat from one more level, the team behind Ghost Runner. You play as a former soldier from Napoleon's army brought back from death and thrown into a twisted version of Europe full of monsters and supernatural threats. The Steam page highlights fast, demanding combat where you mix melee, ranged options, and supernatural abilities to carve through some very nasty creatures. It's very much about learning enemy patterns, surviving tough encounters, and slowly piecing together what's actually going on in this world. is planned for a 2026 release. What I liked about this one is the setting. We don't get a lot of games that mix Napoleonic era vibes with horror and RPG progression. If they can balance the difficulties of its punishing but fair and keep that Ghost Runner sense of responsiveness, Valor Mortis could be a great pick if you want something challenging, grim, and very combat focused. Coming up next is Beast of Reincarnation. And this one is interesting because it's from Game Freak, the studio most people know from Pokemon. Stepping into a full action RPG for PC, PS5 and Xbox, you play as Emma, traveling through a mysterious, ever-changing world with her dog companion Ku. The core of the game is demanding technical combat. You're not just mashing buttons, you're reading enemy behaviors, timing dodges and using abilities precisely. At the same time, the story leans into themes on what it means to be human, and the bond between Emma and Ku actually unlocks new power as it deepens. It's targeting a 2026 release window. What sells me here is seeing a Game Freak step out of the comfort zone. The footage so far show lush environments, a strong focus on one-to-one encounters, and a tone that feels more mature without going full grimdark. If you're into combat-driven action RPGs where you really need to learn the moveset, this one might be on your list. Up next is Pathologic 3, and this is definitely the most unusual RPG on the list. Developed by Ice Peak Lodge, Pathologic 3 is described as a psychological horror game where you have 12 days to save a town from a mysterious plague. You play as Daniel Dakovsky, a doctor and researcher who arrives in a remote town looking for a supposedly immortal man, and things immediately go wrong. The game leans heavily into time pressure and consequences. You're diagnosing patients, choosing who to prioritize, and managing limited resources and making harsh decisions that shape the town's future, and even let you rewrite parts of the past. It's not your standard loot and level RPG, it's more about tension, narrative, and how much you're willing to sacrifice. There's also a free prologue, Pathologic 3 Quarantine, which lets you get a feel for the tone and systems. The full game is set to release on January 9th, 2026 on PC. For me, this is the one you play when you want something different, something that sticks in your head long after you closed it. Now, let's talk about Chronic Medieval. This is a sandbox RPG set in a brutal but beautiful medieval Europe, developed by Raw Power Games. You start at the very bottom, a peasant, a craftsman, a nobody, and work your way up in a dynamic world full of wars, invasion, and shifting alliances. The focus here is on freedom. You create your character, fight in skirmishes and field battles, take part in sieges, and eventually build and feign your own castles. This game mixes third-person action with large-scale battles where you command troops and fight alongside them, which honestly give me strong Mountain Blade vibes. It's planned to hit early access in 2026. A cool detail, the announcement trailer is narrated by Tom Hardy, and the studio has gone on record saying the game is 100% handcrafted with no generative AI in its content, which I know matters to a lot of players. If you like the idea of telling your own medieval story and leading massive armies from the ground level, this one feels very promising. Next up is Outward 2, the sequel to one of the most unique survival RPGs out there. It's like the first game, Outward 2 is all about a grounded experience. There is no chosen one, no level scaled world making you feel overpowered. The Steam description emphasizes no handholding, no scaled encounters, and no divine blessings. Just you, your gear, your map, and a harsh world. Survival is a big part of this. You're managing things like weather, infections, and preparation on top of combat. Recent previews talk about using camps, natural shelters, and careful planning to survive, and show co-op play where players lure enemies into traps and use magic in clever ways instead of just spamming attacks. It's targeting summer 2026 on PC. I really like that this series pushes back on the pure power fantasy. You're not carving through everything with ease. You're constantly on your toes, but when you overcome something, it feels earned. If you enjoyed the first Outward or just want a slower and more immersive RPG, Outward 2 should be on your radar. And finally, we got Cloudheim, which brings in a lighter, more cooperative flavor to the list. Cloudheim is a 1-to-4 player action RPG where Ragnarok has shattered the world and gods basically pick you to help rebuild it. The hook is that it blends crafting with chaotic physics-based combat. You're awakening forgotten deities, pushing back corruption, and running a shop in the sky that you upgrade over time. You can also play solo or online co-op, and the combat leads into physics-driven mayhem, knocking enemies around, using the environment, and combining abilities while you and your friends improvise. It hits early access on December 4th, 2025 on PC. For me, Cloudheim is the kind of game you boot up when you want something more relaxed than a punishing survival RPG, but still with progression, builds, and a world that changes as you upgrade your hub. If you like co-op crafting games, but wish the combat had more energy, this might be exactly that. And that's my list of the 10 upcoming RPGs I think are worth watching over the next couple of years. Let me know in the comments which one of these are you most excited for, and did I miss a game that should absolutely be on the list? I'm always looking for more stuff. If you found this helpful, consider dropping a like, it really helps the channel, and if you want more lists, first impressions and deep dives of upcoming games, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss future uploads. Thanks for hanging out, I'll see you on the next one.